Flaming Crown?
The one and only Scarlet King. Beside the Scarlet King...
Yo, what? Hold up. Did they just drop the Scarlet King out of nowhere?
Later, in the void.
What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Savvy, and welcome back to the Savvy Show. And yes, you guys see what's on the screen. I heard you guys. For the past few weeks, y'all been demanding this SCP reaction, and it's about time I deliver. This is SCP-4840, the Demon Lancelot, and the Flying City of Audapaupadopolis. I hope I said that right. But anyway, y'all been demanding this like crazy. I'm surprised how many people wanted to see this reaction or see this SCP coverage. So I'm really excited to see what this is all about. I heard most of you guys are telling me that this one has like a sequel, and this one might have ties to SCP-6000. Who knows? So yeah, I'm sure this will be like 50 minutes, close to an hour. So hope you guys all buckled in, because this ain't going to be a short ride, man. So with that being said, if you guys are excited to see this reaction, which I know a few of you guys are, smash that like button. No cap, man. Smash that shit. Go brazy. And also remember, smash the sub button as well too if you're not already part of the family. And also hit that bell so you can stay plugged for each and every upload. And also remember, y'all can hit me up on Discord. I always forget to plug that as well too, along with Patreon. But basically Discord is where we could like all talk together about, you know, certain series and SCP that I cover on the channel and other channels that I do have. So if you ever are curious about, you know, just chatting and stuff, feel free to have Discord and have fun over there. So with that all out the way, with that all being said, let's dive deep. Alrighty, SCP-4840, the Demon Lancelot and the Flying City of Audapaupadopolis. Yo, let's go.
SCP-4840, the Demon Lancelot and the Flying City of Audapaupadopolis.
Oh, it was close.
The SCP universe is massive, not only in size, of course, but also in scope. There are thousands and thousands of cataloged anomalies, with countless more waiting to be found, or only mentioned in myths. Things we refer to as anomalous inevitably interact with one another, and some civilizations we've looked at already could be considered entirely anomalous themselves. SCP-4840 contains a story about the ancient past, and includes mentions of a large number of SCPs we're familiar with. It's also a bit of a follow-up to SCP-4812, Wrath, which I've covered previously.
Oh, and I covered that previously too. Okay, perfect. That's actually perfect then, because well, was this the SCP that I thought I was going to cover? Oh, wow. Yo, I thought I was... Okay, never mind. This is actually perfect. I low-key forgot about that one.
I'll do my best to provide some short explanations or references as we go, but viewing previous videos in this series will likely help out a lot. SCP-4840 itself is an ancient, abandoned, floating city, located roughly 8 kilometers above an empty region in the Russian Arctic. The city is around 5.5 kilometers in diameter, and while the architecture of the city suggests that it predates any known civilization, it was clearly constructed using advanced techniques and materials for the time, such as gas lamps. The city also bears markings that seem to be a long-dead human language, a precursor to ancient Greek and other Mediterranean languages, not found anywhere else in the world. Foundation linguists that have deciphered the language have determined that the city was once called Audapaupadopolis, roughly translating to City of the First Father, and over 100,000 people once lived here. There is
Also, going to mention again, since this is a precursor to the SCP Wrath that I covered on the channel already, I'll plug that throughout the video for you guys to catch later, or you guys want to catch it after this one. So keep that in mind. I got you.
There's no evidence that a single event led to its decline, but rather that the population simply left over an extended period after the loss of its first and only leader. The city is divided into 4 quadrants, all connected by a large central hub. These quadrants were populated based on craft, with blacksmiths and metallurgists in one, engineers and designers in another, farmers and bakers in the third, and artisans and craftsmen in the last. Each quadrant also possessed its own local center of governance, located near the central hub. The central hub contains 3 large stone temples, designated the Temple of Sunrise, Temple of Sunset, and Temple of Night, with a larger, ornately designed Great Hall that was likely used as the seat of the city's power. Underneath this Great Hall is a large stone door, completely inaccessible to Foundation personnel. The door can be opened, but individuals who attempt to pass through feel a building tension that overcomes their bodies, describing it as an increasingly uncomfortable feeling of guilt and regret, often accompanied by panic and anxiety, capable of incapacitating anyone who presses on.
That's insane.
Prior to 1933, the city was hidden from view and human perception by unknown anomalous means, but since then it has been rendered visible to the naked eye and to radar equipment. Obviously, that's no good for the Foundation, so they've installed scrambling devices and cloud cover generators, as well as physically moved the city to its current remote location to help conceal it.
How do you move a whole city?
The city of Audapaupadopolis is completely abandoned, aside from 2 entities, SCP-4840A and 4840B.
The demon Lancelot?
A is an elderly male human of nondescript build and uncertain ethnicity. Genetic testing has revealed likely Mesopotamian ancestry, but his genetic markers have no apparent pre-ancestral linkage, suggesting that either he's some sort of alien, or he is a genetic precursor to intelligent humans on Earth. He speaks numerous languages, including modern ones, is capable of controlling the general movement of the floating city, and has some degree of limited local omniscience.
So this dude can move the city. So that could make sense why the city was completely moved. Wow, so he is probably the ruler or the creator of the city?
He is capable of describing events taking place far away that he would otherwise have no knowledge of, although he can't describe specifics or individuals involved in these events.
Interesting.
Finally, he is the only individual capable of passing through the stone door underneath the Great Hall, an area he refers to as the Old Library.
Dang, he's definitely the creator then.
The other entity, B, is a massive, vaguely humanoid figure that is currently lying unmoving in the ruins of the Temple of Sunset. It possesses a human torso ending in 6 legs, with 6 severely distended arms, each ending in a rough metal clasp affixed to a chain connecting to a large iron flail at its end.
What the heck? Is he a prisoner?
It is roughly 13 meters in height, but is only visible using thermal lenses. A says that the entity is dead, but it continues to output a constant, unchanging amount of heat.
And if it's dead, why is it chained up then? Come on now.
It also bears markings consistent with those found on SCP-4254, which appear to be some kind of sign or sigil. The sigil is similar to those found in other pre-antediluvian sites, specifically those concerning a redacted SCP, the Royal House of Apollyon. Here we have our first major reference, a connection to SCP-4812 and SCP-2254. To recap, in 4812 we heard about the Sky Kings of Old Europe, the leaders of an expansive and powerful kingdom of conquerors in the ancient past. The Sky Kings were all members of the Great House of Apollyon, the first of which was Harion I von Apollyon, who was said to have descended from the blood of the King of Crimson Skies, often called Assem, the First Man.
That's such a sick name.
When Cyrus VIII von Apollyon grew bored and launched a war of conquest across the sea against the fairy folk, the kidnapped Fey princess cursed him and his kingdom. The king's son, Cyrus IX, appointed 4 great knights to defend his kingdom from any retribution from the fair folk.
Yep, and this is basically the recap of the Wrath SCP that I covered already.
They were Lahair the Fierce, Lancelot the Cunning, Hector the Stalwart, and Ogier the Faithful, and they each ended up becoming twisted by the princess's curse. Based on the title, you of course know that Lancelot is involved with 4840, But SCP-2254 is actually Lahire the Fierce. 2254 is invisible to the naked eye, roughly 13 meters in height, with distended arms and 6 legs.
Oh, so that dude's basically SCP-4840B, right?
This all sounds pretty familiar, and to top it off, the image provided for Lahire is pretty close to 4840B.
Yep.
As well as the mention that the markings found on B are the same as those found on 2254.
Wow.
As for the fate of Hector and Ogier, we may never know.
Dang, that's crazy.
Audapaupadopolis was first discovered in 1933 by a British airman flying from London to Oslo over the North Sea. When reports of the sighting went public, the Foundation and the Royal Conservatory for Public Perception spread info claiming that the airman was drunk and hallucinating at altitude to cover it up. The Foundation then went in to investigate, sending a team by hot air balloon led by Captain Francis Pike. In his exploration journal, Pike describes looking out over the city like looking at Rome from a high hill. Upon closer inspection, though, its abandoned and decrepit state revealed itself.
Let's see.
Upon landing, they were met by 4840A, who welcomed them to the city and introduced himself as the city's steward. As they toured the streets, Pike describes the construction as finer than any city he's ever seen in his life.
Because he created it.
They passed by the ruins of the Temple of Sunset, and Pike writes that he had a strange and uncanny feeling as he looks at the place. The group dines in the Great Hall, as the man expresses his appreciation for their visit. They briefly explain what the Foundation is to him, but he says that he already knows, and had known for some time. He also says that there are old secrets kept in this city that must be kept safe. Pike writes that speaking to the old man is like speaking to a friend you've known your whole life, a close companion whose company you've missed dearly. The group slept in large, extravagant rooms, much larger than the room the old man sleeps in. The following section describes the large amount of imagery and iconography within the city, most of which is contained in the 3 temples. In the entryway to the main hall of the Temple of Sunrise, a mural shows 2 naked children standing at a tree line, seemingly nervously watching the horizon, with a wolf and bear standing behind them protectively. On the wall opposite the mural is a figure with a flaming sword, the Gate Guardian.
Oh, wow.
In the main hall itself, there are 3 murals. On the far wall is a brilliant sunrise, with the city of Audapaupadopolis in the foreground. Standing in the front of the sunrise is a golden man, and 2 others by his side, with a third set off from the rest. The man is holding a long rod with a silver point, wearing a shining crown. In the sky above them is a bronze dragon with green eyes, and words on its side reading, "They will know what is." The identity of these figures will become clear later on.
Okay, cool.
The mural on the eastern wall depicts a meeting in the Great Hall, with the golden man standing at the foot of a throne, and 2 other figures standing on each side. The third figure from the other mural is absent. Before the golden man is a king in crimson robes, with a flaming crown extending a hand of friendship.
Flaming crown?
The one and only Scarlet King. Beside the Scarlet King...
Yo, what? Hold up. Did they just drop the Scarlet King out of nowhere? Yo, rewind.
Standing at the foot of a throne, and 2 other figures standing on each side. The third figure from the other mural is absent. Before the golden man is a king in crimson robes, with a flaming crown extending a hand of friendship. The one and only Scarlet King.
Bro.
Beside the Scarlet King is a naked woman covered by a snake, a man made of metal, and a sorcerer in deep purple robes, alongside others. The woman is SCP-336, also known as Lilith, a figure from Jewish mythology said to be Adam's first wife, prior to Eve.
Wow.
The man made of metal is Robert Bumaro, the head of the Church of the Broken God. And the sorcerer is Dr. Wondertainment, or the figure that would come to be known as Dr. Wondertainment, at least.
Yo. So many SCPs are making a cameo right now. Holy shit. This is wild.
On the western wall, a mural shows the Golden Man sitting on his throne, with an iron crown hovering above his head.
Is he God or something?
The
Golden
crown
Man?
is inlaid with words of an unknown language, and set with a shining white jewel. We'll be hearing plenty more about this crown later.
Bro, oh yeah, he definitely has to be a god. Because if people like Scarlet King is trying to like shake his hand and stuff and become like friends and everything, if this guy's anything less than a god, yo, this is wild if that's the case. But he'll be even more so if it's true. This is nutty.
Behind the Golden Man are several large figures. One made of gears and steel, one made of flesh and blood, one made of ice and stone,
Yo.
one made of stars, and another made of eyes. The one of gears and steel is, of course, Mechane, also known as the Broken God.
Makes sense.
And the one of flesh and blood is Yaldabaoth, Mechane's counterpart and an important figure in Sarkic lore.
The flesh that hates?
The one made of ice and one made of stars are as yet unidentified, but the one made of eyes is meant to depict SCP-3125. I covered that one in my video on anti-memetics, but basically it's a massive entity that partially intersects with our reality and erases anyone that gains any knowledge of it from existence. It seems the people of Audapaupadopolis were not only familiar with this entity, but also decided to put it on a mural.
What?
The last figure on this mural is a young woman with long, brilliant white hair hanging in the air, pointing to the south. This is SCP-179, an entity located in our solar system that warns the Foundation of any extraterrestrial threats
she starts with an
approaching us
S.
from outer space.
179. What? The animation I saw with her, she had black hair, but I guess she's depicted to have white hair in maybe this story or in this own canon. I didn't read the files, so I'm not too sure, but it's like it's the Thamiel class SCP that is like cousins or sister with the sun or something. It's kind of weird, but it has white hair in this. That's crazy. That is interesting.
The final wall of the Temple of Sunrise contains no mural, but instead the words, "For not the sea to swallow them, and the long dark approach." The entryway to the ruined Temple of Sunset contains detailed drawings of cities and towns in and around Audapaupadopolis, as well as a map of the city itself. It seems at one point the city was surrounded by large walls, with small towns and villages next to these walls. To the east of the city was a river, with another town and farmlands, with the words, "The Lands of Men," emblazoned on the side of the same bronze dragon from before, on top of the mural. An arrow points to the southeast, with the words, "Lands of the Blood Kings and Necromancers," and another arrow points west, with words reading, "The Far Strange West." Based on SCP-4812, we already know what existed in the West during this time, as the Conquerors went to war with the Fair Folk, who were also involved with the war with the Children of the Night, SCP-1000. The land of the Blood Kings and
Bigfoot? Children, that's what they called him? SCP-1000 is Bigfoot, I believe, so they're called Children of the Night? What? Unless there's another SCP-1000, but that wouldn't make sense because it's not like his proposals with the same digit. Let me hear that one more time.
Went to war with the Fair Folk, who were also involved with the war with the Children of the Night, SCP-1000.
Yeah, Children of the Night, SCP-1000? Am I getting it twisted? Bigfoot is SCP-1000. Or am I wrong? No, I am right. So, is there just another SCP-1000? Because I don't think their nickname is Children of the Night. If it is, that's so weird and out of nowhere. Because there's no correlation with that and Bigfoot. But, yeah, I don't think so.
The land of the Blood Kings and Necromancers refers to the Davites, a civilization ruled by anomalous individuals and steeped in blood sacrifice, slavery, and magic rituals.
I remember them.
The interior of the Temple of Sunset is similar to the Temple of Sunrise, but much of the main hall has been destroyed by the fallen corpse of 4840B.
Dang.
There is a single mural remaining, showing the golden man with the iron crown sitting atop a white horse. Legions of men and women armed with weapons stand behind him, and on both sides of him are two figures, one holding a black sword, the other a green rod. The golden man is holding a long silver lance in his hand. Across from the man is a scene of storm clouds and lightning, growing more dramatic as it approaches a collection of small humanoid figures.
What?
Light green in coloration, with brilliantly colored clothing. These would be the Fae, the people that Saurus VIII conquered and brutalized. The figures are each depicted with 6 eyes in 2 vertical columns, which interestingly also seems to be the same configuration as 4840B and Lahire the Fierce.
Okay.
Behind them is something large and mottled gray, but it's cut off by a collapsed wall. The Temple of Night is the smallest of the 3, only containing a single level. Info from 4840A suggests that portions of this temple do run underground, possibly connecting with the structure beneath the Great Hall. The entryway of the temple contains depictions of barely visible entities concealed within a forest at night, covered in hair with bright yellow eyes. Their faces are noticeably human in appearance, and they each carry the same ornate wooden scepter with a bright red stone set in one end.
What the heck?
These would be the Children of the Night. Bigfoot, SCP-1000.
I was right. So they're called Children of the Night? Wow, I'm so blown that I never knew that was one of their nicknames.
Entities which humans eventually brought to the edge of extinction due to their intellectual capacity.
Yep.
The interior of the temple is a maze of small, interconnected rooms, the purpose of which is unknown. Many of them share the same depiction of a massive tree in the middle of a forest, which is actually SCP-2932, Titania's prison, a place used by the Children of the Night to contain their enemies and anomalous threats, including the Fae and a powerful reality bender named Adam L. Assem.
So there is a SCP of the first man, Adam, the father of Abel and Cain. So I was always wondering what kind of SCP he is, and I guess this is him right now. Let me hear that one more time, though.
By the Children of the Night to contain their enemies and anomalous threats, including the Fae and a powerful reality bender named Adam L. Assem.
Adam L. Assem. But Adam, I'm
Other
assuming.
depictions in the temple include men and women being thrown into mass graves, children and animals being burned, men being placed into wooden coffins and buried alive, skeletons strapped to trees, and small green humanoids being raped and butchered by the larger, long-haired humanoids.
By the way, if you guys know the SCP that they were just talking about named Adam, please let me know the number of it in the comment section below.
These are clearly images related to the Children of the Night's wars against humans and the Fae, although why they are here in Audapaupadopolis is a bit of a mystery. The central room of the temple contains a staircase descending downwards, although access to it is blocked due to rubble and fallen rock. Long stone sarcophagi line the walls of this central chamber, and individuals entering the room report feeling a sense of incredible unease, and describe hearing scratching sounds from within the sarcophagi.
Yo.
During an investigation in the
on?
temple, one team reported finding a room with a door marked with the Foundation's seal, which opened up into what appeared to be an abandoned Foundation site identified as Site 000000.
What?
Later
How did they get
explorations have
there?
been unable to relocate this door. 4840A already said that he knew what the Foundation was, and truth be told, the Foundation has probably been around for quite a while in some form.
Wow.
It's just surprising that they would have a site in such a location.
Yeah, I'm saying.
On several occasions, 4840A has mentioned that he is not the only person residing within Audapaupadopolis currently, and there is another individual in the Temple of Night.
4840B.
He has been reluctant to say anything else about who this person might be, and notably, he's never been seen entering the Temple of Night for any reason. Finally, then, we have the sealed chamber underneath the Grand Hall. The area 4840A refers to as the Old Library. The stone door leading to the chamber has two figures depicted on it. The one on the left composed of a single vertical shaft of ornately decorated gold and silver, with a smooth white stone set in its center. The figure on the right is not a figure, but is instead an inset of the figure on the left. The left part of the door is made of white marble, with bronze hinges and gold fixtures. The right part of the door is bound in rusted iron. Again, these contrary depictions will be explained soon. When the door is open, people in the antechamber claim to be able to hear someone speaking with their own voice from somewhere beyond the door. The implication is that the chamber beyond is some sort of void of reality, alien to our understanding, much like SCP-3930, the pattern screamer.
Oh, okay.
4840A describes the door as a passageway between this place and somewhere else, an old passageway with well-tread steps. He says that the light of the world has long since left the place on the other side,
This is a lot to take
and
in.
mortal men can no longer walk it. Now that we have all the imagery down, what we really need is a story to put it all together.
Yes, please.
And that's where 4840A comes in.
Okay.
A Foundation doctor named Ostrovich interviewed him in 1949. And after he gets over how impressive the tape recorder being used is, he says that the Foundation are seekers of knowledge that want the truth. They remind him of his brother, who was a scholar, possibly the greatest scholar of his time, who could sit across the table from a person and gather everything he ever needed to know about them from a look.
What the heck?
He says that the Foundation has a lingering feeling that they are at the center of something much larger than themselves, and that it's not their fault, as the early days were billions of years ago, and almost everyone from that time has since passed.
Billions of years ago?
He was there when the world was young, as they watched the Iron God put the flaming stars in the sky, and the God of Flesh loose the first red drips of blood splash against the earth to give it life.
Wow.
Speaking of Mechane and Yaldabaoth. He mentions that he was a boy when the serpent and its dark brother set the foundations of what is and what is not, referring to the titular serpent of the serpent's hand, the entity responsible for the Wanderer's library.
Yo!
And its dark brother is apparently SCP-3000, Anantashesha.
Oh my god.
One stores knowledge, and the other destroys it.
That's crazy!
He sets out to explain the beginning of all things, and how all things started here in Audapaupadopolis, a place where all that is, was, and ever will be was realized. There were only a few of them at the beginning, in a world of infinite mystery.
Few gods?
They studied and watched and learned for millions and millions of years, and afterwards they built the city, the first city. He says that in Audapaupadopolis is where that which is came to be, and he explains that there were only ever two true gods, is and is not. He says that there are things that are and things that aren't, and when the work of is was completed, that remnant of that god became the serpent, an entity whose purpose is only to study that from whence it came, and learn those lost truths about itself. The other entity, is not, was its shadow, and one cannot exist without the other.
Clever.
Is not is everything outside of is, and together they encompass true knowledge, everything that ever was or was not, all at once.
That's interesting.
When the world came into being, there was order, and even though there were things roaming around that we now refer to as anomalies, they were confined to this world. Anomalies from alternate worlds and universes were kept apart and far away. A says that the Fae were the first to open their eyes upon the cosmos, because they were not born from this world normally, instead being created from the last glittering fragments of Is, making them more attuned to the will of creation. They kept to the woodlands and wrote the first music, and A could hear them singing from across the world.
Who is A, though?
A and his brothers came after the Fae, the first men born into the world, cared for by the mothers of the world, the wolf, the bear, the sow, and the lion. As they grew, they gave themselves names and wandered the world, marveling at its mysteries and reveling in the life they had been given.
So is A Adam then? Because they just said they're the first men on the world. So Adam was the first man, if they're following that mythology, you know, and Cain and Abel and so on and so forth. So the should at least have ties together, if not being them themselves.
A describes the experience as serenity. During the early days of Audapaupadopolis, it was populated by A and his brothers, the Scarlet King, the Serpent and Anantashesha, the envoy from Saturn, the dragons and lords of the sky, the god of iron and god of flesh, and many others.
That's crazy.
The greatest of these, however, was the first king of men, called Asem. A describes him as golden and beautiful, powerful enough to build mountains, call the sea to bear, and look into worlds beyond.
So he was a king?
He also was said to carry a lance that could kill gods, which, if you recall from the Ouroboros cycle, would be the lance of the non-believer.
Okay, so that was his lance.
They called him Asem because the word meant is, and they believed that he was the joy of creation given form. Unfortunately, within him grew the first vice, envy, as he looked to the skies and wished them to be his. He decided that he wanted to look past the cosmos and take something from another world. So he did.
What did he take?
The thing that he took from another existence was a crown, and with it he declared himself the king of all that is, building his seat of power here in Audapaupadopolis.
How did he just go to another world and take the crown, though? Because he seems like he was just like a regular king. Unless he was like, you know, some kind of reality warp or two, and he was able to do some kind of feats, but it wasn't making him but he wasn't completely like a god. Because if he was, I'm assuming then he could just easily rule the skies with his power. But hopefully we get more feedback.
A says that he was still kind and beautiful at this point, but he was crippled by his desire to take whatever he wished from the cosmos. Inevitably, Asem was betrayed, first by his sons.
Oh.
His eldest son envied the crown and demanded that his father pass it on to him. He ended up raising an army and savaging his father's lands, laying waste to the world of men.
Your own son.
But ultimately he was struck down by Asem and locked in a stone tomb deep beneath the earth. The middle son also wanted the crown, but he spoke passionately to the people of that world.
Stone tomb? Yo, is that Abel? That just clicked in my head. That's Abel. So I'm assuming the dude that took the crown is Adam. That's Adam. Bro, the dude that wanted to reach out to the cosmos and rule it for himself. He is Adam. If this is Abel, and then I'm assuming the middle son, which is Cain, and then they said it was another son that was like, you know, on the outskirts, but wow. Let me hear that one more time. This is getting wild. This is getting good.
Beneath the earth. The middle son also wanted the crown, but he spoke passionately to the people of that world, calling upon their sense and reason to demand that Asem pass the crown to him. The kingdom agreed, bending their knee to him and worshipping him as their god.
Cain?
But Asem put a curse on him to poison both the land and his followers.
Yep, that's Cain.
The middle son was exiled, forced to wander the desolate places of the world until the sun went down in the east.
That sucks.
Finally, the third and last son took a much simpler route, sneaking into his father's room while he slept and stealing the crown from his head.
Well, that's
Despite
easy.
its simplicity, this was the greatest betrayal, because Asem loved his third son more than anything.
Oh. Dang.
The sun slipped away as Asem's kingdom fell to ruin, and Asem turned the world into a smoking waste, as a number of the people of Audapaupadopolis followed the third son into the shadows.
Dang, they followed him.
They fled into the night for 1,000 years, hunted by Asem and his 2 other sons, who all desired nothing more than the crown.
Wait. Oh, so they weren't hunting together. They were all hunting in their own little, like, groups. I thought they came together to get the crown back, but it seems like one was, like, imprisoned in a tomb, and the other one was, like, meant to walk forever until the sun lands in the east. So I'm assuming they're just all hunting for the crown by themselves, with their own factions.
They had hidden the crown, though, kept away until it faded into myth.
Wow.
When A finally stepped back into the light of day, the world had changed, and was no longer a smoking waste. The people who had fled alongside A had started families in this new world, and their kingdom became known as Old Europe, the first true kingdom of mortal men.
Wow.
A came into the realm of Harion, a kindly man with a passion for knowledge and a desire to learn. His family were gentle and good people, and more families flocked to Harion's lands. A spent many long hours speaking with Harion about the times before the darkness, and about the strange wonders he had seen across the world. This led A to take his father's crown that he had stolen and hid away, and place it atop Harion's head, calling him Apollyon, the king over the darkness.
So A is the third son. A's the third son that had the crown the whole time. Brother to Abel and Cain. I'm assuming they are the ones that they're talking about. And his father's Adam. Wow.
Apollyon went on to build great halls, great temples, and great libraries.
Apollyon?
And in time, all of old Europe swore fealty to him as their high king. Eventually, he passed away, and his son Uvan became high king. At this point, A took his leave from old Europe and returned to Audapaupadopolis to rest for the first time in 10,000 years.
Damn, so I'm assuming they're all immortal, basically. Because everyone before, like, the first man and stuff, I'm assuming even Abel and Cain, they're immortal too, and Adam. And this is the third son, which I'm just assuming until I'm proven otherwise. Wow, that's crazy. So he's just passing the crown on to people that he probably believes could rule in a righteous way, or his definition of, a righteous way.
When he awoke, the world had changed yet again, and the Davites had taken up arms against the kingdom of men. The house of Apollyon had become known as the Sky Kings, and were pillaging and conquering across the continent.
Dang.
In the west, the Fae were dealing with the children of the night, and these wars laid the foundation of the world to come. Eventually, the Sky King Zorus came to Audapaupadopolis, where A was hiding out, and demanded that he give him Asem's lance. Even if A had wanted to, which he didn't, he couldn't give him the lance because it had been lost a long time ago.
Okay.
When Zorus was told this, he threatened to turn the city over in order to find it. In order to protect the city and the deep secrets that it holds, A called upon the last of the Titans still on the earth,
What?
the great dragon, Barata, and together they raised the city into the sky.
Oh.
Separated from the world of men, A watched for thousands of years as king after king came and went, each carrying on a bloody legacy while wearing the crown of Apollyon. He watched as the Deva hero Gilgamesh slayed Cyrus II's only son in single combat on the fields of Jerusalem, and the dread sorcerer Noah el Meto raised the seas to wash away the lands of men until he was struck down by Maladrow the Wrathful. He watched Jore Apollyon sail across the sea to meet with the king of the children of the night, and then watched as she was buried alive to feed the heart of their horrible goddess tree. A watched as the world turned. Eventually, A watched as Cyrus VIII crossed the sea to bring war to the Fae, and the aftermath as the Fey princess was buried and she summoned the 3 great profanities to curse the kingdom of Apollyon.
Dang, he saw everything.
A watched with sadness as the kingdom fell, and Sarus the Ninth suffered his 4 betrayals as his knights became twisted by the dark magic, becoming monsters and beasts. Lahyr went to the west, Ogier to the north, Hector to the south, and Lancelot went east, ending up in the city of Audapaupadopolis.
Dang.
In time, the name of Lancelot fell into human legend, becoming a different figure entirely, but this twisted figure became known as Demon Lancelot. This is 4840B, of course, the entity that lies dead on top of the Temple of Sunset.
Demon Lancelot, dang.
Lancelot would have turned the entire city into ruin if not for the efforts of the last great heroes. The dragon Barata, the sea lord Arcturus, the hero Beowulf, and the Deva king Relevine.
Beowulf? Beowulf was in this? Yo, okay. Everyone is making a scene here, bro. Yo, I love Beowulf. That's nutty. That's so crazy.
The battle
Beowulf.
cost each of them their lives, so Demon Lancelot must have been quite the foe.
Oh, I bet.
But with Barata's final gasp, he tore out Lancelot's heart.
Dang.
A was alone afterwards, aside from his brothers who still roamed the earth in search of their father's crown. A supposes that his father is out there somewhere as well, if he's not rotting in the heart of the earth. The crown, of course, was lost when the profane Dark swallowed up Sarus the Ninth as part of the Fey Princess's retribution. The House of Apollyon ended in a night, and the children of the night came across the sea to pick at the corpse of the kingdom of old Europe.
So the crown's lost now. That's so sad.
Time went on, of course,
Greedy
bringing
sons.
us to the present. Ostrovich asks him more about the 4 knights, and A explains that they were each nobles sworn to the House of Apollyon. When the great profanities twisted their hearts, Sarus the Ninth cursed them, and they took on strange and grotesque shapes, the shapes of old Fey gods. For Lancelot, who was adept with a mace, his arms were transformed and his mind became unable to do anything but rage and destroy.
Wow, that sucks.
Ostrovich says that this all sounds pretty ridiculous, and A agrees, saying that he wouldn't trust her if she believed him without reservation. He has kept much of the old world hidden for many years, but as his life wanes, so does his ability to keep it hidden. He knows about Lahyr moving in the west, and also knows that Hector is preparing to emerge in the south. He says that Lancelot has laid here dead for many years, but still does not grow cold. He is also aware of the recent events from SCP-4812.
Is he just sleeping?
The profane adamant being seen in the skies, the entity that Lancelot prayed to for overwhelming strength. Things are in motion, and A needs the Foundation's help because he will not live forever.
Bro, the Foundation can't handle these beasts. Like, I'm sorry, there's levels to this. But that's crazy. It seems like the Demon Lancelot's not dead. He's probably just sleeping or rebooting. Who knows? But, like, I don't think he's dead. He's not even getting cold. Maybe they can't die. Maybe that's like a curse.
He needs their help in protecting the secrets that this city holds. Ostrovich then asks him what exactly these secrets are, and where they are. A says that they are kept in the old library, the place where Is was realized and came to be. Assem built his seat of power directly on top of it, where the greatest authority of all authorities came to rest. Within the old library is the first book, although it's not actually a book.
The hell?
He speaks about the Wanderer's Library, a place where texts describe Is and all that is, the greatest collection of knowledge in the entire cosmos.
Wow.
The first book, meanwhile, does not just describe Is, it is, meaning that it holds the most fundamental truths of existence, those never intended to be understood by man or beast.
Oh, okay, I got it.
A has tried to read the book to know these truths so that he could right the wrongs of this world, but he has failed.
To read?
He also says that he nearly lost himself once in the other book, and in it he grew old. The other book, of course, is the first book's counterpart.
He low-key literally almost lost himself. For real? For real? Like, he gained age, and from a guy that doesn't seem like he even, like, gets old? Wow, that's saying something. These books are dangerous.
The book of Is Not. This book contains the truths of things that cannot be, dark and old truths. His ability to protect the old library will eventually fail, and there are those who know what is here and will seek it out. This is all a little bit tricky to comprehend, and Ostrovich isn't sure she'll be able to believe it all, which A understands. He says to watch for the 3 great profanities that the Fey Princess has summoned: the Profane Restrictor, the Profane Adamant, and the Profane Dark. They are the last remnants of a cursed people, a people who fled from the children of the sun and their iron swords, as well as the children of the night and their fell scythes. He tells the Foundation to remember what he has said when they see them, because they are from a time long before their history begins.
Wow.
Finally, Ostrovich asks him who he is, and A says that his name was Seth, brother to Cain and Abel, son of Adam el Asem.
Yo, Seth. There was no third brother, though, in Greek mythos. Or I could be wrong. I might have to do some more research after this. But bro, we finally get the truth. Yo.
Finally, Ostrovich asks him who he is, and A says that his name was Seth, brother to Cain and Abel, son of Adam el Asem, the first king of men.
First king of men, okay.
Seth admits that he was just a boy when he looked into the night sky and asked his father for a star all his own, leading Asem to reach out and pull in an iron crown.
Oh, whoa. So he got the crown because his son asked for a star. So it wasn't Adam just seeking something from a different world. He was doing this for his son. Maybe that's why that's his favorite. Or Adam, well, not Adam, Seth is his favorite son. Or at least was.
That crown ended up driving Asem to madness, Cain and Abel to butchery, and the ruination of their kingdom. Wow. Without that crown, Cyrus VIII might not have crossed the sea, and the descendants of Harion may have been able to fight off the children of the night when they came to old Europe. Seth says that there is no more hateful a thing than that crown, the seed at the root of evil, and it was a gift for him.
You started all of this.
He says that he was once Seth, but now he has lost that name. SCP-4840 is certainly a little different than a lot of other SCP articles.
I'll say.
Much like SCP-4812 was.
Yeah.
There are still plenty of questions left about this ancient history. Some that may be answered in the future, and many that won't. This specific canon of fantastical history and connections is occasionally being referred to as the Cactus Verse, after its creator, DJ Cactus, and it likely will continue to be expanded upon.
Thank you.
Seth is a rather tragic figure, considering himself responsible for much of the turmoil across the world.
Low-key, he was. Just saying.
But his time will come to an end, so hopefully the Foundation can step up and take over his job to protect the old library. Things are clearly in motion in the dark, and it's likely that, at some point, events from the ancient past will cause some very real effects in the present.
Wow. Is it over? They say that the profane adamant has been seen in the skies, and the profane adamant who Lancelot prayed for strength over woman. I think they meant to say over woman's strength. Something is moving here. Something that has been lying dormant for many long eons. And so I require your aid. We were called immortal, and while I have lived an impossibly long time, I will not live forever. The strain of sustaining this city drains me, and a day will come when it must be passed on to you, the sons and daughters of men. You will have to guard these secrets. Wow, okay, so this is Seth talking. Dang, this is nutty. So many SCPs all jumbled up within one whole single canon. From what it seems like. Yo, and you guys weren't kidding, man. This even felt like I was listening to SCP. It felt like just a whole different universe in itself. And that's nutty to say. Oh, I want to see more extensions of this canon and seeing what will happen. And maybe more insight about the specific SCPs way back billions of years ago when they were all in Audapaupadopolis. Yeah, so with that being said, man, if you guys enjoyed this, please remember to smash that like button. The people that wanted to see this, I hope you guys all liked it as well too. Please smash it if you guys did. And also let me know in the comment section below what you guys thought about this and some other articles relating to this one that might be something good to check out. So with that being said, I hope you guys all enjoyed this. Hope you guys all had a great time. And unfortunately, that concludes today's episode. However, I'll catch you guys on the next one.